Welcome to The Hero Maker. In this series, we follow Richard's appearances on other shows as he talks about how to grow, play, think, and live like a hero. Join him as he discusses thoughts, principles, and life lessons, all essential for anyone building their heroic brand. All that and more, only on The Hero Maker.
When you started working with him, and what were his expectations? I mean, I guess he wasn't expecting to get anywhere near those kind of figures.
So this is actually a really interesting thing about setting expectations. It's something I believe really strongly about expectations is that you have to, like, I see this a lot in entrepreneur circles, is people like to sell beyond their skill, right? Because they're worried that people won't buy if you don't do that. And I've always been sort of staunchly the opposite, where I will come in and, like, for him, he was my first client 10 years ago. And I was like, I have some ideas about things we can do to help you. Right. And, like, here's what some of those ideas are. I was doing I was doing a lot of really good marketing work for a big solar company, but I wasn't in the expert brand space. Right. And he was like, I really love the ideas that you have. Right, so I came in and I sort of set the expectations with him. I was like, hey, here's what I think we can do, right? And I think we can do this. I think we can do the other thing. I think we can do this with your masterminds. I have some really cool ideas that I'm seeing other people use. But honestly, what I'm going to do with you, all of this is experiments, right? Because I don't really know this market. You'll be my first client in this market, and I want you to understand sort of where I'm coming at from it. And he was like, I'm totally cool with that. And we set our business relationship up with those expectations in mind, right? Whereas, like, so we set up a very small retainer just to cover some of my time, and the bulk of the income I made from him was as a result of a percentage of profits that I helped create in his business, right? So to the point of setting expectations, I didn't know what the expectations were, right? So I had a very flexible deal with him, and was very clear with him about what I expected and what I was thinking and where that was going. And he was like, okay, I understand, we're experimenting with this stuff. And we grew a lot together over the course of the next few years. And that's what it sort of led into the other clients. Now, 10 years down the road, right? I guess it's not 10 years, we're in 2020. It's only 8 years down the road from that one. When I take on new clients in that space, like I have a $25,000 to $50,000 retainer. Right. And I can come in and I talk to them about very specifics, like, hey, when we put a webinar together, we're expecting to see, 45% registration rates on the page. We're expecting to see 30% show up rates on the webinar. We're expecting to see 1 to 3% sales rate on the first one, 4% sales on the replay, and 6% on the first set of follow up. Like, I have numbers now because we've been doing it for so long that we know what our benchmarks are. For all of the things that we're doing, everything from, how long it takes us to build a website, to how long it takes to build a webinar, to how many people should convert into a mastermind, to, what kind of expectations you can have for a close rate if your product price is over $2,000 and you're doing phone sales, or if it's under $1,000 and you're doing sales direct on a webinar. Like, we know what all those numbers are, so we can go in with really clear expectations, and then the discussion's very different, where we'll come in and say, hey, this is what we're going to be targeting, and right, these targets are low, we'd like to beat them. And if we're not beating them, this is where, like, if we can't hit these numbers on a regular basis, this is where the clauses in our contract say, hey, if you can't regularly hit these numbers, you can fire us, right? Because we know what our numbers are now. But that's not the way it started.
If you want to hear the rest of this discussion, please check out the link to the full episode in the description below.